So, can I talk about some deeper stuff regarding uh, the shutdown of Rooster Teeth? I'm recording this. What is today? Today is Wednesday, May 8th. I was live streaming, not today, but I was live streaming a little bit yesterday, May 7th. And in my live stream, I mentioned that I was feeling really depressed and sad about some stuff, and I was going to talk about this on that stream, but then I just got kind of carried away playing some video games, doing my stream stuff, and I ended up not doing it. I ended up kind of actually clearing my head a little bit. And if you're watching and you're going, "Oh, your eyes are bloodshot, are you okay?" I'm like, no, my allergies been kicking my ass the last few weeks. So I am wearing a beanie because it's not even that cold. I wanted to wear something Rooster Teeth while I talked about this. Because when they announced the shutdown of Rooster Teeth, when they announced they were shutting the company down, it hit me pretty bad. It hit me for a very short time and not that hard, because it was like, oh well, it's in 60 days. We have plenty of time. And then I was just so busy and focused on everything else I had going on. I really didn't have any time to kind of process everything and understand, not that, but really didn't have time to let it sink in. Yeah, that's the word, let it sink in. And on Tuesday, while I was at work, my normal routine is I go into work and I listen to I listen to Morning Somewhere that Bernie does. I listen to the Morning Somewhere podcast that Bernie does. And he was talking about, they mentioned some of the stuff regarding the shutdown on that podcast on Tuesday, on the Monday and Tuesday episode. And I was like, you know what, today I want to listen to some podcasts, and I think that's what I'm going to do for the day. So I went and I listened to So All Right, which is kind of slightly the inspiration for the name of my vlog that I keep trying to do, and then I just keep getting so wrapped up and busy with other stuff that I don't actually get around to doing it. But I was listening to that, and I was like, it's a podcast I kind of listen to on and off. And I was like, I'm going to skip ahead a couple episodes, because I started with episode 1 and we're working my way up. And I skipped ahead to the episodes about, for the first episode where he announced, where where Jeff talked. I wanted to say Gus. I kept wanting to say Gus, and then I wanted to say Griff. I want to talk about where Griff was Gus. God damn it, where Jeff was talking about the shutdown, the very first episode where they start talking about the shutdown. And then I skipped ahead a couple episodes where he kind of talked about some of the memories he had made with the company. And then I skipped to that episode that actually came out that day, which was the last episode he filmed in the office, in the Rooster Teeth office. And it was kind of nice to listen to that. And then I admit I have fallen off listening to the Rooster Teeth podcast, which, when I say that, I feel bad as a fan of the Rooster Teeth podcast. I feel bad that I fell off listening to it, and then I went back and I listened to the last 2 episodes of the Rooster Teeth podcast, and I actually, this morning, I made myself breakfast and I was sitting on my couch and I was like, I'm going to actually watch the live stream, like the recording of the last one that had Gus, Gavin, and Barbara on it. And part of why I'm sad is it's realized I'm mourning an iteration of a friendship, a one-sided friendship, yes, but I think I talked about this in my vlog that I did a couple of weeks ago, when they initially announced the shutdown. I want to go. I need to go a little backstory here. So, like many people, I'm saying this because I don't want to downplay the struggles of others. I don't want to sit there and say, well, my life was so miserable and yours wasn't, because everyone goes through different levels of shit, and everyone has different struggles, and no one person, should act like they had it the absolute worst. I don't know any way to really word that to make, I don't know how to word the feeling of I had it bad. That doesn't, well, I know how to word it. Here's how I'm saying it. I'm not saying my struggles invalidate other people's struggles. Everyone's struggles are valid. Anywho, like many people, I went through, some rough times when I was young. Early on in my youth, middle school, high school, I felt very isolated and alone because I had a family that didn't really seem to care about me at all. My parents were going. My biological parents had divorced when I was very young. My biological father had put me up for adoption, so my stepdad could adopt me and be my legal guardian, and I could be on insurance and everything. But then my stepdad just sort of kind of distanced himself from me, and I didn't really have a close, tight-knit friend group. I didn't have, a partner to lean on. I didn't have anything, and I felt very alone and isolated in my life. And I remember, I had discovered Rooster Teeth through one of my friends in high school. He lent me the season 1 and 2 DVDs of Red versus Blue, and I made an account, and I fell in love with the website. And I had a bit of a community group there. I had people I talked to and stuff. And so I had some semblance of belonging because I had my little internet friend group. But the thing that really, helped me out a lot was the Rooster Teeth podcast. When they started that, I saw that they posted it on the news that they were going to, on their news site portion, that they were going to do it, and it was going to be available on iTunes. And I had an iPod Touch. I had an original iPod Touch, and I was like, I'm downloading that. I'm going to listen to that. I'm going to find out what it is. And I listened to the first couple episodes as they came out, and I was like, this is interesting. I like hearing these people talk. They're funny. They were talking a little bit about some of the inside stuff that was going on. It eventually, it shifted to more, current events and stuff. And it was great. And I listened to it, and it was funny, and it gave me a good laugh. And I remember one day something about the RT podcast just sort of clicked for me. And I remember the day, I don't remember exactly what I was doing that day. Like everything, I don't know exactly what day it was. I don't remember exactly what podcast it was, but I remember the moment that I was in. Growing up, I had horses, and the farm we kept the horses was about a mile from our house. A mile if I drove on the road. But if I walked through the abandoned subdivision that was between my house and the farm, it was only a half mile. And so I would often, in the summertime when it was nice out, I would walk to the farm to do whatever chores I needed to do at the farm, and then I would walk back home. And I remember one day, it was one of those, maybe it was spring or summer, maybe it was in fall, I don't remember. I know it was nice enough out that I was walking, and I had just like a hoodie on and my baseball hat. I don't even remember. I probably was wearing a hat, and it was cloudy, everything was damp, like it had just rained that morning, and everything was cloudy, like it was just about to rain. Like there were thick, dark clouds, but then there were some lighter clouds. And I was listening to the Rooster Teeth podcast, and I was having a bad time. I was walking through this field on my way back home from the farm, and I just wasn't feeling too good. I was feeling just really down and alone because I had no one to talk to about why I was feeling down. I had no one to take my mind off of the dark thoughts I was having. And I hit play on my iPod, and I start listening to the podcast. And it sort of clicked in my mind, this feeling of companionship and camaraderie and friendship, because I forget I don't even remember what they were talking about, but I remember it was I know it was Gus, and I know it was Jeff, and I know it was Bernie, and I don't remember who else was on, but they were talking about something, and it was just very relatable to me. And honestly, this was probably like the second year of them doing the podcast, so probably 15 years ago. It's taken 15, 16 years for me to be able to feel. I felt this feeling every time I listened to the podcast, and it never really clicked, and I could never really put words to what the feeling was until recently, as I've been thinking more about it and realizing that is something that's going to be gone in some capacity from my daily routine, my weekly routine. But listening to the podcast, listening to them talk, the thing that moment that clicked so many years ago, it felt like I was sitting at a table at a bar with my friends and having a conversation and listening to them talk and laugh and laughing with them. And sometimes they'd say something that was relatable to me, and sometimes I'd hear new stories, new jokes, like Bernie's brick joke about the brick, and the bird and the plane and the guys in the field with the mud. Oh, I love that joke. I use that all the time. Anywho. But I realized, like, listening to the podcast, it felt like I had some place to belong. Like, I was sitting there at the table with these guys. And, like, I know it's a one-sided thing. Like, they're talking and I'm just the listener. I'm just a fan. They're not actually my friends, and I understand that. And there's no, like, weird, like, anything there. Like, I fully understand it was a parasocial relationship. I think that's the term. They are creating content, I'm consuming the content, and I am connecting with the content at an emotional level. And it resonated with me it made me feel connected and belonging somewhere to listen to the Rooster Teeth podcast. And that's why I kind of fell off after Gus did his last podcast. I listened to some of the newer episodes, but there was several factors led into it. It wasn't just, I don't like the new cast. I actually like the new cast. I think they're great. They're funny. The actual big reason why I stopped listening to the podcast was because my job at the time when I was listening to it was very easy for me to just put my earbuds in and zone out while I was working. It was very easy for me to listen to the podcast and while I'm stocking produce in the produce cooler or sweeping floors in the meat locker, or putting up stock when I worked at the Harley dealership. But when I switched to working in IT, I was talking to so many people. I constantly had people every 5 minutes. It was hard for me to listen to a podcast. And I got a motorcycle, and it's difficult to listen to podcasts in my helmet. So it's like the opportunities for me to listen to it became smaller and narrower. And so admittedly, external factors and the fact that it just didn't feel like I was sitting at the same table in the bar with my friends made me not want to listen to podcasts anymore. And again, like I said, I felt like I was sitting at the bar with my friends, just talking shit. And that's what it was when it was, Gus and Gavin and Barbara and Bernie and Jeff and just everybody who was on the original RT podcast. And then the new version of it, it felt like I'm still sitting at the table and new people are sitting there and I haven't really meshed with them yet. And they're great. They're great. I've listened to their a few times. External factors have contributed to external factors and the fact that it just wasn't for me. It wasn't the same flavor of podcast. Made me move on. And that's why it was really nice when like Bernie started doing his podcast and Jeff, had his podcast. It was like I could still listen to them. It just wasn't them together. And yesterday and this morning, I was thinking about that. About how much that podcast the crew meant to me. Because they were there for me in their own in a way that made me feel like I belonged somewhere, that made me feel like I fit in. And knowing that Rooster Teeth is shutting down and knowing that, at least in that capacity, that won't happen anymore, it feels like I'm still sitting at that table and all my friends have left and now the bar is closing forever and you're taking away the table. And it's sad. And I know that like they will move on and there will be, Barbara will probably do something, Gus will be doing something, they'll all be doing something, and I'll be able to go and find that content. And I know the Rooster Teeth subreddit will be doing a really good job of finding that content and making sure that the fans can keep in touch with these people who've meant so much to them. I will do my best to follow them and continue to be a fan of the content that they make. It's just sad that it's not going to be under that one big umbrella anymore. It's going to be a bunch of different little things. Unless they somehow all get back together and make something new. I don't know. Alternatively, I do know somebody who has a significant amount of money. I'm not kidding. I have the thought of going up to my boss and being like, "Hey, boss, do you want to buy this internet company and like we just put your TV show on their website?" has floated through my mind more than once. And I also know how stingy my boss is with money and he would never do it. And it's just... It's one of those things too, like the other thing, and I don't know if I talked about this on my last blog, but like that relates to Rooster Teeth shutting down and something that's kind of like it's hitting me and hurting me a bit is the killing of a nearly unobtainable dream. So shortly after I moved here to Vegas, and I'm gonna fix this camera. It's bugging me. Shortly after I moved to Vegas, my ex's mom. We were together at the time. My ex's mom was gonna go back to school. She wanted to go back to school for accounting or business management. I don't remember what. But she asked me if, while she was doing all her stuff to figure out to go back to school, if I wanted to go back to school. And I said, I wouldn't mind going back to school, like going to college and getting a degree in something to hopefully, get into a career field that I would be happy in. She said, okay, well, what kind of schooling would you want to go to? And some of the stuff that I was into at the time and stuff that I still actually enjoy, I have no way of following through on it. Like, it's like, there are ways, I just don't have the financial means to follow through on it. But I'm actually fairly intrigued and interested in film. I don't show it, because everyone sits there and looks and sees, oh, you build model trains? You must want to go work for the railroad. That's the dumbest fucking comment people make every single time. Anywho, I actually do really like the back end side of the film industry. I would love to be in it in some capacity. And that's why I'm actually like really excited about where I work, because we do filming, and I'm like, oh, I want to do AV stuff someday. But I'm too busy doing engineering stuff. But she asked me what I wanted to go to school for, and I said, well, I'd love to go to film school and learn cinematography and learn how to be a writer, learn how to be some of these positions and stuff. You know, maybe do the special effects sides of things. I don't know. Maybe I could build sets. I would love to do film school stuff. And in the back of my mind, as I was saying that, part of it was because I wanted to go to film school to get the education, to put on a resume, to then get some experience, maybe working in some local films here in Vegas or something, with the eventual goal of like actually getting a job at Rooster Teeth. You know, and I know I'm not the only one who's saying that. This isn't some revolutionary idea. I know there's so many fans who would want to get a job at Rooster Teeth, and you know, there's so many aspects to it, and it's like I wouldn't even want to be like an on-screen personality. I'd love to just run around holding a camera and filming shit. And that's always been a dream of mine, and it's always been one of those dreams that's nearly unobtainable in my mind. But it was nice to have it, you know, just sit there like one day, I'd pick up my camera and be like, you know what, maybe I'll go out and buy a proper video camera, and I'll make some silly videos and do well enough doing that, learning cinematography on my own or whatever, that maybe, you know, if my BattleBots job doesn't work out, I'll put a resume up to Rooster Teeth and go down and move to Austin. Who knows, you know? And now I can't do that. Now that dream that I know I would never really ever be able to follow, I know I can't follow. And it's a weird feeling knowing that's like, here's this dream, this thing that I will probably never obtain, but the incredibly infinitesimally small possibility that I could obtain it is there, and now it's not. And it's, yeah. The worst part too, like, let's go back to my ex, to my mom and my ex and her mom. So I say that, I want to go to film school. And I tell her more or less the same thing I just said. It's like, well, I want to go to film school and, you know, learn how to do cinematography so I can get a job, because there were some movies and stuff and TV shows that were filmed in Vegas. I'm like, I get a job working on one of these TV shows, make decent money there, you know. Not necessarily a stable career, but a fun career. And she laughed and said, that's a dumb idea. You should just go to a trade school and learn to be a mechanic. Which is kind of ironic, considering I am a mechanic and I didn't go to trade school. And if you're wondering what I'm holding in my hand, when I'm sitting here, like even when I'm doing like my online therapy sessions and I'm doing these vlogs, I usually just pick something up and fiddle with it. And I'm currently fiddling with a brushless motor from one of my robots. think what it is, though, the past couple days, like listening to the final episodes of the RT podcast and realizing that as of recording this, that everything's going to be shut down next week. And that there'll still be another episode of Morning Somewhere. And Jeff will probably put out an episode of So Alright in a couple weeks or next week. But knowing that I can't just go log into the Rooster Teeth website and watch one of my favorite shows. I can't go and, listen to my favorite podcast because they're not going to make it anymore. And I know like the podcasts are on Spotify and they'll probably stay on Spotify and I can go back and re-listen to them. And I know that there's the archive of Pimps. I can go and watch old episodes of shows. But it's kind of sad knowing that I won't be able to watch new shows. And I won't be able to see those people in the same space. And that some of my tiniest sliver of hope dreams are gone. Because Rooster Teeth as a brand has been a friend for me. And those people have been have been a voice of companionship to me through some really hard times. And I know that they will be moving on to other projects. I know it's not like they're all be taken out back and shot. That would suck. That would be illegal. But I'm really glad that I at least got to go to RTX last year, and I'm sad that I don't get to go to RTX this year. And man, this one's running long. It's not even cold in my room. I just wanted to wear my caboose beanie because I don't really wear it that much anymore. I have quite a bit of Rooster Teeth merch. I'm mad about the Rooster Teeth store. I had a bunch of stuff in my cart that I was going to order after I moved into my apartment, and I moved into my apartment. Was getting all settled in, and I went to go order the stuff, and they announced the shutdown and emptied my cart, and everything that I had in my cart they had already sold out of, and I'm so mad at mostly myself. Part of my eyes watering up is allergies. The other part is I am getting emotional. I've had this conversation multiple times with myself, to myself, by myself. And it felt myself get choked up. And I was like, I can't keep just thinking this to myself. I need to have this conversation with somebody. I need to put my thoughts out there. And I'm terrible at typing things out. I needed to sit down and do a vlog like this. And I know this one's long. If you're watching this far, thank you for being here. Normally, people who make videos would say, "Oh, like and subscribe to my channel." I'm not gonna do that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, go to the Rooster Teeth subreddit and find your favorite creator. Find whatever lists they have of where everyone is going and what people are doing, and find someone from Rooster Teeth. Find their TikTok, their Instagram, their YouTube channel, their Twitch channel, wherever they are making content, and just give them a like and a subscribe and a follow, whatever you wish to give them the support, because for many of these people who work at these jobs, this is like their only job that they've ever had, or few jobs. I know like Gavin and Barbara have only had like a handful of jobs. And they're going to need the support of, followers and people out there, watching their content and subscribing to them on Patreons and whatever. So I think what I'm about to say, I think a lot of people who are fans of Rooster Teeth can probably agree with what I'm about to say here, but not just from the bottom of my heart, but from like the very fiber of everything, of every bit of my being. Thank you, Rooster Teeth, for all the content you guys have ever made. Thank you to the podcast, and to Red versus Blue, and to Black Box Down, and to Survive Block Island, and I'm drawing blanks on shows. So many shows that I enjoyed myself. Rooster Teeth meant, as a fan, Rooster Teeth has meant a lot to me. I know I haven't been like the biggest fan, watching everything. Not everything's for everybody. But the content that I did watch, I did enjoy. I laughed. Hell, I'm not gonna lie. Before the shutdown, like I used to get choked up at the end of every season of Red versus Blue. But yeah, just from the not just from the bottom of my heart, but not just from the bottom of my heart, but from like the fiber of every bit of my being, I say thank you guys for everything you've done as a content creation company, as a media company, for being such a big part of my life and an inspiration to me to just be silly and have fun. I know a lot of people can sit there and say this, but I know there are a lot of people who can say this, and I'm going to say it too. I don't know where I would be if I wasn't a fan of Rooster Teeth. I don't think I would be here. Because through a lot of the dark times, Rooster Teeth did help pull me through that. And that's why I'm so thankful that I got to be a fan of this company. And I got to experience it. And why I'm so heartbroken to see it go. I know I said I wasn't going to like do all the like and follow stuff, but just thank you for watching this, guys. I hope some Rooster Teeth employee sees this and at least knows. They know. The Rooster Teeth employees all know that we love them. Except for the ones we don't love. And they know who they are. Yeah, this ran way too long. I'm going to put my link. I'm going to put like a link to the archive of Pimps and my own personal Twitch channel because I do stream periodically there. This is ran long and I need to go to bed because I need to get up early. But thank you for watching, and thank you, Rooster Teeth, for everything you've done and provided to so many fans, myself included, through so many times of good and bad in our lives. Rooster Teeth has always been a beacon in the darkness for some of us, and just kind of all over the place because I have so much I want to say and I don't know how to say it all. You know what I will. In the final episode of the RT podcast, Gus did say he wanted to see people try and go out and make their own content. I think it's time I start to follow one of my dreams, and maybe I force myself to, in some capacity, make content and stream more often and make my own videos, but that's for another time. Okay, I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm going to go lie down now.